how are these negotiations going? We don't really know because, well, Carney says we don't negotiate in public. We don't talk about these things in public. But all we do really know is that Canada has made concessions on multiple occasions, and we haven't seen the US make very many at all. And so that leads the regular Canadian to be like, okay, maybe it's not going so well on the Canadian side in terms of getting a serious deal done. We're not getting a whole lot. We got a 21st deadline coming up. Not a whole lot going on there in terms of conversation. Then there's an August 1st deadline for a 35% tariff deal, and we are wondering what's going on with that. And then news dropped from the White House themselves, letting us know, it's going to be what it's going to be. We're going to get into the details of that, as well as what's going on with Alberta and the Alberta Panel, of what is going on with what they want to do moving forward and being a separate entity that happens to live in a more harmonious Canada with whatever that means for them. And how, of course, Liberal Canada is not happy with Alberta exploring their options and saying, you're not allowed to do that. And we're going to be getting to this and so much more. Welcome to the Elevate Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. I'm grateful to be back on with you yet again. If you get any value from today's episode, please take the time to like, share, and subscribe. Helps us to grow, helps us to get to new audiences, and helps us and helps people to get a different option that they don't otherwise get from the mainstream media. So let's get into our first story, shall we? Carolyn Levitt was commenting on the ongoing negotiations with Canada in terms of a deal that is being mustered up at the moment. She says, well, it's not going great because Canada's hard to deal with. And this was her answer to how those negotiations are currently going.
If I could, last month, the Canadian Prime Minister said the President had agreed to a July 21st deadline to sort of work towards a trade agreement. That's 4 days from now. Could there be a trade agreement with Canada in 4 days?
Well, look, we'll see. The trade team continues to be very active in our conversations and discussions with Canada. The President himself has said, unfortunately, our neighbors to the north have been pretty difficult to deal with when it comes to matters on trade. But in trade, generally speaking, as you know, 25 countries have received letters thus far from the President directly with his big, beautiful signature on them, from Japan to Korea, South Africa, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, just a few countries, and Canada also received a letter for 35%. With that said, if countries want to have legitimate further discussions, the Trump administration and the President's trade team are willing to have further talks, but these letters these countries have been receiving are the deals. And as the President has said, those deals will be made. They are tailor-made to each and every country based on the United States' concerns and what's in the best interest of the American worker and the American people.
So there's that. They said it loud and clear there is if we don't get anything moving forward and those negotiation conversations don't go any further, 35% is the deal. Take it or leave it, especially in Canada's case. Right now, we have the unique opportunity that we share a border with this nation, that we have, I think, 85 to 90% of our goods are covered under USMCA, but it's everything else outside of those that are some core sectors that will be affected and impacted by the 35% tariffs, our dairy being one of them, and a handful of others. And these are some core areas to our industry. And I was talking to Reg, and we were kind of having this conversation. What is this really all about? Because the dairy industry doesn't really move a huge needle for the U.S. economy. So why is Trump going so hard on our dairy? And it is kind of fascinating. Because if this whole 51st state thing is semi-real, if he really does see it as an idea to really absolve Canada if they don't get their act together, this could be the thing that causes it all to unravel, because Canada is known for having being very protectionist around their dairy industry. And if Trump can get Carney to fold on dairy, that could be more of a symbolic victory of we can get you to do whatever we want. If we got you to bend on dairy, then we can get you to bend on whatever else we want you to do. That's how this is all going to go. The dairy cartel in this country has made or broken the careers of politicians on multiple occasions in this country. So if Trump can break into that, that will be more of a symbolic victory than anything to show him, all right, we're going to get everything else now on the table. We're going to get into telecoms. We're going to get into your banking system. We're going to get into everything else that you've been protecting us against. That's just how this is all going to go. So that was a lead that Reg believes, and honestly, I think I agree with him. This could be more of a symbolic victory if they can really break them on dairy. We'll see how this all goes. But the deal is the deal as it comes from the White House currently is 35% is a deal. We don't know if we're going to see anything on the 21st. We don't even know if we're going to see anything on the 1st of August. We haven't heard anything from our people. We're getting little bits from the White House here and there. We don't know where this all goes. We just know that people are on and off again on vacation at the moment. We're not getting a whole lot of information from our government. It's a lot of top-down approach, and we'll tell you when it's all said and done. We'll see what ends up happening. With all this going on with the United States, this keeps resurfacing, and every time a poll like this resurfaces, there is more and more people who are quote unquote favoring joining the EU. You can say these polls are real. You can say that they're fake. That's not really what I care about in this case. It's the reality that these polls are being pushed in general and swaying public opinion regardless of the science behind the poll in itself. It's the fact that we are pushing the propaganda of join the EU. It's going to be good for us. It's going to be all good. I'm like, you literally lose all your autonomy the minute you join the EU. Why would we ever do that? The whole situation with Trump, the whole issue with the US at this point, we as Canadians have had issues with, is that we want to keep our autonomy. We want to be an autonomous country. We want to live on our own. We want to do our own things. We don't want to be dictated to by anybody else. But if it's the EU, we'll do it, baby. We'll do it because, why? Because the television told you so? Because Carney told you so? Because the liberals align with them? The quote-unquote good guys align with them? Why? Why would you not want to sell your autonomy to the US, but you're willing to sell it out to the EU? What's the difference? Please enlighten me. What is the difference between being absolved by the EU versus being absolved by the US? I just want you to be consistent. That's all I care for. I don't care to see Canada become the 51st state. I don't care to see Canada be part of the EU. I'm fairly consistent on that because I truly believe in what Canada's core, that we can revive that again and be a great country once again. I don't believe in selling out my country to another one just for the sake of perceived convenience. What's your reasoning? If you believe in joining the EU, why the EU and not becoming the 51st state? I want you to be intellectually honest and consistent on this. I would love to know. Only 38% of Canadians are opposed to Canada considering a formal process to join the EU. Only 38% are opposed to this. And then you wonder why things like the Alberta Panel are happening as we speak. The idea that Alberta is exploring the idea of being an autonomous nation or being a sovereign nation inside of a unified Canada, as Daniel Smith puts it. They're exploring all their options these days. That's exactly how it all went, didn't it? It was, Alberta, you have to deal with being told by the East what you're going to do, and you have to deal with it and like it. Then Alberta's like, well, we'll think about maybe leaving. And the East said, you're not going anywhere. Get real. Whatever. You know what? You don't like Canada? You can just leave. And they're just like, okay, actually, we're going to think about leaving. No, you can't leave. You can't do that. This is divisive. You're a terrible person if you want to think about leaving. You can't do that. It's the same old abusive rhetoric from the East that continues to happen, and we wonder why Alberta's entertaining the idea and wondering what their options are these days. And they're doing panels like this, and there's been highlights coming out of these consistently. And, well, Daniel Smith has been doing a good job of conducting these panels and hearing people out in this situation. Well, someone brought up the idea of, okay, if we have our own provincial police, this person was in favor of keeping the RCMP and not having their own provincial police, and this was the conversation that was had.
He expected this year's $4.8 billion divided by every Canadian taxpayer, which comes out to about $121 for this year per person. The expenses for the OPP in 2019 was $2.8 billion, and for the population of Ontario in 2019, it amounted to $195 per person, and that was only in Ontario. Paid 62% more than the RCMP. And we have a manpower issue as well with just getting recruits, like that one person said with the RCMP. They have a manpower issue. I don't know how we're going to resolve that, and as well as just buying new facilities, as well as support staff.
Got it.
Everything.
So let's look at the finances, right? Yep. It's a great question. Fair point. Anybody?
Yeah. First of all, Alberta owns all of the assets associated with the RCMP. So if there was a replacement, we would get all of those assets. Secondly, Grand Prairie just went through this exercise. And what they discovered is that they could either save $8 million by having their own municipal police force, or they could double their force. And so that's what they've chosen to do. So instead of having 55 officers, they're going to have 110 officers for the same budget. And when they did a call for resumes, they had 200 people who applied. So I would say that is the reason why we've supported municipalities in doing this kind of research, to see if there is a better way for them to do it.
And this and so many more exchanges like this are happening at these panels. It's not just the Premier and her party saying this is what we want to do, this is what we're going to do going forward, and you're going to like it. It's no, we need to have conversation at these meetings. We want to hear people out. Do we do this? Do we do APP? Do we do CPP? Do we do the RCMP? Do we do our own Alberta police? Like, what do we do? We want to hear from everybody and their concerns. And these are the types of panels that are happening around the province of Alberta currently conducted by Smith's team. But those who are more left-leaning, those who are liberals, are hopping on the news and spreading this nonsense that they believe that these people are all plants.
Makes a lot of sense. She's speaking to her base. Her base is showing up. I don't think this is a fair representation of Albertans overall. We just need to look back to the 2023 poll, to people saying, no, they're not interested in Alberta pension plan. And I think that gives us a clear picture of what all Albertans want. But in terms of her support, she's doing a great job of whipping that up.
Najib, let's pick up right there. How representative of Albertans do you expect these town halls likely to be?
Oh, very little representation. I think many of the people in these, the attendees are plants, and, they're subjected to 30 minutes of party propaganda before the thing even starts. 450 people are definitely not representative of Albertans, especially ones that have been coerced and propagandized before it even starts. It's interesting. My favorite part of this is actually the tagline. We were talking about this earlier, that the Premier keeps putting out there, a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada, which makes no sense. It's like the most gobbledygook kind of slogan I've ever heard. It's like, we're single but ready to mingle. It's just nonsense. And, this is exactly like the Trump-style politics that this party has picked up. It's just like, while they're distracting and dividing us with these kinds of, nonsensical and, not representative types of forums and performative consultation, they're pushing through. They've already set up the provincial police force. They've allocated money for it. There's always money for enforcement, no money to address the root causes of crime, poverty and mental addictions and all of these kinds of things, mental health and addiction, all kinds of things. They've already pushed it through. And this is, Trump rule book number one, right? You distract with disinformation and misinformation while you actually push through the things you want to do. And this is no different.
This is how they view it. This is all just propaganda. These are all plants. This is all fake. People actually don't want this. And the reality at the end of the day is when you see the EU news, when you see that Carney just kind of doing what he's doing and not really getting a solid deal for Canada, where he's also getting out the whole debacle that happened yesterday, First Nations, and how ugly that all got. It's just out of control. And Alberta's like, well, we have the biggest cash cow that you refuse to use. You claim that you want to have nation building projects, but you're not really giving us any ideas of what you want to do and what you're going to build. And quite frankly, this country is a joke. The last big nation building projects we did started in 1993 and finished in 1997 with the Confederation Bridge. That is all you got. And Mark Carney says he's going to be the guy to do it. Yet he has not made any movement and has only given lip service to the idea. So when you see Alberta doing these panels, it's like, oh, it's not representative of Albertans. Oh, sure, I'm certain there's at least a hand. There's definitely some people in Alberta who's like, no, I want to stay part of Canada. Not saying it's 100%. But there's enough growing sentiment in Alberta to have these panels. And for you to say it's just propaganda, it's all fake, it's not going to go anywhere, shows you the abuse that continues to be harped on people who just want to explore their options and have not liked what they've been seeing from Ottawa. But anyways, enjoy your Friday. I always love seeing you. Have a good one. I'm out.